How it feels to get an erection. About 5 months ago, I did a video that tells you what it feels like when a woman gets wet, so I said why not do the same for men. I have 9 answers from Reddit and Quora.com. 1. Gingor said, depending on the hardness, it can feel like an iron bar coated with skin is attached to you. Also, you might feel a bit of blood draining towards it, and it radiating heat. Yes, I'm saying my boner feels like a hot iron rod, ladies. Call me. 2. The chicken said, physically, it feels like other erectile tissue like nipples, only much larger. There's a tightening and you can feel blood pooling in the area. Unlike secondary areas of erectile tissue, however, it's often much closer to mirroring your arousal level. Indeed, it's so closely tied in your mind that having an erection can be arousing itself. Biology works on feedback mechanisms like that. Other times, like morning wood, the erection is just kind of there. It's not really sexual. Inappropriate times like at work or school and they're just annoying. Like someone tapping on your shoulder with something you're not in the mood to deal with. Erections are biology, like I said, and biological reactions are often out of your own control. Pants are also really not designed with erections in mind. Having your penis straining against the fabric of your clothes is sometimes arousing since it draws your attention, but it can also be uncomfortable too. I learned in my early teens to adjust before they become painful, which they can if you don't shift things about sometimes. Moving an erect penis left or right doesn't really do anything, but it to point pushing down can be painful since the erectile tissue actually extends into the body and more or less attaches to the pelvis. Poking with it or pushing down on the end of the head is weird since there's no give at all and no pain at all, plus the head is kind of spongy that direction. You can actually put a fairly ridiculous amount of pressure on the end, and it doesn't hurt or bend. It makes it very obvious what it's designed for. There is most definitely a built-in drive to thrust. Getting the erection lined up always feels awkward, but actual sex itself always feels as natural as breathing. As far as emotionally outside of sexual arousal, it makes you feel strong, for lack of a better term. It makes you feel ready, willing, and able to have sex, and absolutely, completely masculine. Aggressive, or at least assertive, confident, powerful, etc. The more turned on you are, the stronger those feelings can be until the blood in your body feels like it's boiling. When you combine those feelings with the intimacy of sex and, if you can get it, love for your partner, it's obviously highly intoxicating. As far as orgasm, that's largely the same, I would assume, except that men also ejaculate. For most men, orgasm and ejaculation are inseparable. I'd wager a plurality of men, if not a majority, don't even know they're separate events. Building towards orgasm is also building towards ejaculation, and for me at least that's accompanied with a feeling that most closely resembles the feeling you get in your urethra just prior to urination. It may just be the pre-ejaculate, but that's what it feels like to me. Ejaculation itself essentially just feels like a rhythmic pumping of the Kegels in rhythm to the waves of orgasm. I don't really feel the semen usually, but the few times I've had orgasms without ejaculating, they haven't felt anywhere near as complete or satisfying. After orgasm, sometimes your sexual arousal will stop like you flipped a switch, but that's pretty uncommon really. Either way for me, I almost always lose my erection pretty quickly as I go into the refractory period for the next 10-20 minutes. This is the built-in period of impotence that keeps men from literally fucking themselves to death. Because sex for men is demanding physically, as ejaculation consumes a lot of fluids and proteins. When I was younger, it was also the only time I could have no desire to have sex. 3. Miles Benjamin said, men often complain about getting an erection because it can happen in the dumbest moments, but on its own, getting a boner is actually very pleasurable and mostly happens when we're sexually aroused. This can range from touch to simply looking at a picture of an attractive person or even just thinking about something hot. As to how the sensation of getting one actually feels, it is really hard to describe. You can feel the penis getting bigger, harder, and filled with blood, while there's a tingling sensation in it. You can also feel the pulsating arteries pumping blood into it, while the penis overall gets more sensitive to touch and is more easily pleasurable. This essentially creates a positive feedback loop where every small touch makes the penis more stiff, making it even more sensitive to touch and so on, until it is as hard as a rock. When you can't release by masturbating, it can feel very awkward and unsatisfying to the point where you have to almost desperately look for a restroom to be able to release if in public. Generally, having a boner in public is very embarrassing and one of our greatest fears. Even when you can't see the boner, it still feels wrong to be feeling it while being in public. This is all added to by the fact that you consciously, but uncontrollably, contract the muscles that harden the penis, making it even stiffer. You basically contract the muscles knowingly, and could, given enough effort, prevent it, but it automatically happens, even if you fight against it. When in private, either alone or with your partner, boners can feel absolutely amazing, pleasurable, and wonderful. 4. Question person said, it's similar to training a muscle and that feel of the pump that you get. Beyond this, it's a rather pleasant feeling. It becomes more sensitive to any form of friction which feels good. Depending on your state of arousal, health, and hydration, it will grow harder and larger. It's not always the same size, slight variation. And frankly, if it is too hard, it can be unpleasant, unless you take care of it. Orgasm. It is a pain to have a very hard and full erection at the wrong time and in stiff pants like jeans or the like. That friction can hurt you. For women to get a sense of the feeling, get a bicep pump in your arm and then flex the muscle. Then imagine you add arousing sensitivity to it, similar to the sensitivity of the clitoris. And you get the idea. 5. The man said, it feels great as I feel the throbbing, especially knowing that it stays hard the entire night as I sleep. 6. Sergio Lopez said, so since guys want to not give examples on how this would feel for someone who doesn't have a penis, imagine the last time you had a bug bite. The swelling in that spot feels like pressure, heated, and it makes you want to itch to get rid of it, only without the intense itchy feeling of scratching that needs to relieve it. But imagine if your clitoris was bitten by a bug without the painful feeling of it, and it will react like how any bug bite will be, and it just gets bigger. ND bigger, and you can get rid of the feeling by scratching it away, or ignore it until it goes away on its own. 7. Caleb said, okay, since guys are writing whole-ass stories about this, I'll keep it short. For me, dick gets pumped full of blood. Feels nice even without touch, but often ends in an orgasm. Simple enough, ain't it? 8. Mark Davis said, having a boner is pleasurable in the penis, and it's also pleasurable all over. This is assuming that the boner is due to sexual attraction. He feels his penis getting heavier and larger, and it starts to get tingly, then expands, demands room, and then gets hard. Being hard is pleasurable. 9. Dan Westenfeld said, it feels like you need to give it some attention right away. Somehow you need to pull it out of your pants and either stroke it or find somebody else that will take care of it for you. Whether they suck it, stroke it, put it in the vagina as long as you get it taken care of so it'll go down and be satisfied.